Okay. Good morning, I'm Remy from Vietnam. Western racism unveiled in Ukraine. Racial disparities are the standards. The West unveils its chameleonic character as evidenced in the body of its socio-political speeches and mainstream media reports regarding refugees from Ukraine as opposed to those from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Some facts. Big numbers of refugees from Ukraine arrive in Germany and Poland, where they are welcomed. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees are pouring into Europe in what the UN describes as the world's largest migration crisis in a century. Reactions. European politicians have been eager to explain why the EU should accept these refugees. Concurrently, Western corporate media pays great attention to every small detail in this matter, without any attempt to make things less offensive or easier to accept. Reporter: this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflicts raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too, city, one where you wouldn't expect that, or hope that's going to happen. Those are the words that CBS News senior foreign reporter Charlie D'Agata chose carefully to make his clear yet reckless statement concerning Ukraine while on air on February 26, 2022, during the Russian military operation in Ukraine. About CBS News. CBS News is the news division of CBS, an American television and radio service. Beside its headquarters in New York City, one of the world's most populous megacities, the most populous city and the most densely populated major city in the United States, often described as the cultural, financial, and media capital of the world. CBS News is present throughout a large network of bureaus domestically and abroad. CBS News domestic bureaus are located in 10 major cities. CBS News foreign bureaus are located in 9 major cities across the world. Additionally, CBS News also has a digital news network that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. About Charlie D'Agata. Charlie D'Agata is a senior foreign correspondent on CBS News. He contributes to all CBS News broadcasts and platforms as a reporter. He has been working in the London bureau since 2011. D'Agata was previously the London correspondent for CBS News Staff, the CBS News affiliate news service. Prior to that, he was the chief overseas correspondent for CBS Radio. Prior to joining CBS News, Deguetta worked as a correspondent for APTN in London. He began his international career in 1992 as assignment editor for ABC News in London. Deguetta holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism from Colorado State University. Analysis. Back to CBS News Live correspondent report on February 26, 2022. Deguetta's statements, with those carefully chosen words, had a surprising and shocking effect on most of us. Describing the current Russo-Ukrainian conflict as being different because it involves civilized people from Europe, unlike Iraqis or Afghans, who, according to Deguetta, aren't civilized people, was just one of those unforgivable things. His dark, ironical smile as he said European did nothing to make his statement more tolerable. His dark, ironical smile as he said European did nothing to make his statement more tolerable. Once again, there was too much behind that ringing, unbalanced, and diluted statement for one to accept. Questions. So what happened to journalism? Rather, what is happening to the world? What do we actually learn from the news? How to comprehend and interpret the news? How do reporters' choices of words shape our understanding of the world we are living in? Investigation. A quick and simple investigation could be done by analyzing Deguetta's statement and focusing on its primary message and main ideas. What is the primary message being delivered in the statement? What message does it send about Ukraine, Iraq, and Afghanistan? What do we learn about Ukrainian, Iraqi, and Afghan refugees from reading or hearing the statement? What other messages, if any, does it express? What are the main ideas presented in the statement? What was the reporter's purpose in making that statement? Who was the intended audience for that news report? Answers. Some of the most important answers could be summarized as follows. Ukraine isn't a place like Iraq or Afghanistan. Ukraine is a civilized European country, whereas Iraq and Afghanistan are neither civilized nor European. It is acceptable for a place like Iraq or Afghanistan to live in a conflict raging for decades. It is unacceptable for a place like Ukraine to witness that kind of conflict. It is understandable that such a conflict will occur in countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. It is inadmissible that such a conflict will take place in a country like Ukraine. One wouldn't expect that or hope that it's going to happen in Ukraine. One would expect that or even hope that it's going to happen in Iraq or Afghanistan. A Is it not rather an extremely lame excuse? Is it not rather an extremely lame excuse? The very next day, Charlie de Guerra wanted to clarify something he said the day before in describing the conflict there. I spoke in a way that I regret. For that I am sorry, he said. I used a poor choice of words, and I apologize for any offense I may have caused, he added. Really, it is no doubt a very lame excuse indeed, and an excuse is something uglier than a sin. It stands to reason. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Charlie de Guerra had to choose those words carefully, and he did. He knew exactly what he had to say and what he said. In other words, de Guerra meant what he said, and he only said what he meant. A certain reality. Though de Guerra's statement is probably to be rejected, at least ethically, it may be regarded as certain that the world is indeed made of those who deserve global sympathy and those who simply don't, at least realistically. Maybe Charlie de Guerra was right after all, wasn't he? A post-truth world. After all, we live in a small world, a world of girls and boys, a world of too much noise and too little insight, a world of black and white, a world of dark and bright, a world of females and males. A world of Mother Goose and King Arthur's court fairy tales, where reason is nothing but a speck of fine dust on the scales. A world where bigotry is so blind, where humans have lost their mind. I'm Remy from Saigon, Vietnam. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.